Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Health and Social Services from May the 8th. Call the roll. Thank you, everyone. Now, moving on to declarations of pecuniary interest from any members present here. Hearing none, I need an adoption of the minutes from April 3rd, please. Councillor Brenner, second by Councillor Anderson. Any opposed? We have nobody online, so I can do. We have no statutory public meetings. We're moving to presentations. Mayor Carter is present as well, too. Thank you. And our first presentation, unfortunately, is having some car issues, so we will reschedule that presentation. And I'm going to move on to our second presentation, which is Christine Genotis. Is that right? Genotis? No? Janusos. There you go. I had somebody whisper in my ear. Assistant Manager for Population Health Division. And Christine, welcome this morning, and she's presenting the Youth Engagement Strategy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present here today. My name is Christine Janutzis. I'm one of the Assistant Managers in the Population Health Division. The purpose of the presentation is to provide an overview of the Youth Engagement Strategy and share some highlights of our current initiatives. Youth engagement is a key strategy that aligns directly with Ontario public health standards. The first being deliver health promotion strategies that are responsive to the needs of the population, including youth, and to collaborate with school boards and community partners to support health and well-being. The next, engage with priority populations to understand their unique needs and perspectives to inform public health programs and services. Youth engagement brings these standards to life by ensuring our health strategies are youth-informed, equity-driven, and built through strong partnerships with schools and communities. Youth engagement, by definition, means giving young people a voice in the issues that matter most to them. It's not just about participation, it's about leadership. When youth are empowered in this way, it naturally sparks youth-to-youth mentorship. They inspire and support each other, building confidence and leadership across the group. This graphic highlights the core guiding principles of our youth engagement model. Our model is grounded in evidence and 6 guiding principles that ensure meaningful, inclusive, and effective involvement of young people, and it shapes how we work. Diversity and inclusion ensures all youth, regardless of background, feel welcomed and represented. Safe spaces foster environments where youth can speak openly and participate without fear of judgment. Authentic bonds are built on trust and are central to sustained engagement. Continuous learning encourages growth and adaptability for both youth and our program coordinators. Innovation is at the heart of our approach, and we support creativity and fresh thinking. Lastly, collaboration ensures youth are not just participants, they are co-creators and leaders in this work. These principles work together to help youth become confident and capable contributors to their communities, both now and in the future. Youth engagement has a powerful ripple effect for both youth and the organizations they support. For youth, participants develop leadership and life skills that extend far beyond the program, fostering stronger mental health, health literacy, and a deep sense of community connection. Most importantly, youth have a unique ability to influence their peers in ways adults often cannot, creating a peer-driven culture of support and wellness. This momentum helps cultivate lifelong health champions who will continue to positively impact their communities long after their time in the group. Engaging youth also provides organizations with innovative perspectives that enhance program relevance and effectiveness. It also extends our reach, strengthens community impact, and fosters greater trust and transparency by ensuring services are shaped by the voices and needs of those they aim to support. Now I'll go into detail about 2 of our main youth engagement activities. Our first activity is a school-based initiative. Commencing in 2014, the Durham Youth Drug Awareness Conference, commonly known as DIDAC, is an annual event. This collaborative initiative involves the health department, local school boards, and community partners, including Durham Community Health Center, YMCA, and Pinewood Center. The conference brings together secondary school students from across the region to engage in interactive learning about substance use, including topics like opioids, alcohol, vaping, cannabis, and the connection to mental health. Students participate in a morning of hands-on learning. They then come together as a school team, including their public health nurse, to brainstorm and build action plans to implement in their schools. Past action plans have included activities such as poster displays, school-based communication, social media campaigns, guest speakers, and presentations. The event aims to empower youth to become leaders in promoting substance use awareness and to foster a culture of positive mental health within their school communities. By involving youth in the creation of the action plans, the conference not only educates, but also cultivates peer-to-peer mentorship and leadership, ensuring the impact of the event extends beyond the conference day itself. In addition to these activities, students complete evaluation surveys to provide valuable feedback that helps shape future conferences. Student leaders earn certificates, and schools are celebrated for their efforts in promoting health and well-being. This empowers youth to continue to take on leadership roles, again ensuring the conference impact extends beyond the conference day. So here's some direct quotes from the feedback evaluations that the youth participate in. So one, I like the opportunity to be hands-on and learn about so many different topics and connect with students from other schools to hear about their experiences. And the opportunity to discuss topics that are usually ignored, like drug use, and hear other students' opinions and lived experiences was so important. So the two photos here, they're a bit hard to see, but the one on the left is one of the breakout sessions, the hands-on learning, and it's like a giant Jenga activity. It's kind of hard to tell there, but they work as a team to answer questions about substance use and then, try to remove a block and prevent their tower from falling. And the picture on the right is at the end of the conference when the school teams come together with their public health nurse and they start to build their action plans to do in their schools. Our next initiative is our youth group, which is our broader community-based strategy. In May of 2024, we launched the recruitment of our new youth group, titled the Durham Youth Health Group. We utilized a multifaceted approach to reach a diverse pool of applicants. We received an overwhelming response with over 300 applications from youth across the region. The selection process was thorough and aimed at ensuring broad representation. The group includes youth aged 12 to 18, with participants from each municipality, ensuring a wide variety of perspectives and experiences. This has allowed the group to truly reflect the diversity of our community. The objective of the Durham Youth Health Group is to support the development and implementation of a youth-led plan focused on mental health. The youth will take the lead in addressing their identified mental health topic, recognizing that youth have the strongest influence on their peers. The anticipated result include promoting health education amongst Durham region youth, specifically those aged 12 to 18. This initiative will also foster collaboration with the health department and other community partners, ensuring the group's input helps shape relevant and effective programs and services. Importantly, the role of the public health nurse is to guide and support the youth in their efforts, provide expertise, and ensure youth-led plans are well supported. Ultimately, this approach reinforces the power of youth to influence and inspire their peers in ways that are impactful and lasting. The youth group is actively promoting mental health awareness at community events. The photo here is taken at the Youth and Policing event that takes place in March. So they engage with peers to highlight positive mental health practices and facilitated open conversations about mental health and well-being. Other activities the group is currently involved in is developing a social media strategy to expand their reach and impact. They've created a logo for their social media handles with a plan to launch their platforms in the coming weeks. The group is producing a promotional video to showcase their mission, values, and the activities they've been involved in. The next steps for the youth group include launching an Instagram page to engage a broader youth audience and connect with other youth on mental health and other health issues. They will review and provide feedback on youth-targeted health department resources, offering valuable youth perspectives to ensure our materials resonate with their peers. The group will continue to facilitate mental health conversations at community events to foster open dialogue and further raise awareness amongst their peers, including the upcoming Ajax Safety Day later this month. Lastly, they will use the promotional video as a tool to participate in reporting, especially since youth typically are in school during conferences or reporting platforms. It provides an opportunity for them to share updates and represent their group when they cannot attend in person. So here are some direct quotes taken from our youth group. So one has said, "This has been a great opportunity to learn more about our local communities." Another has said, "It has been really fun so far, and we're excited to plan for ways we can promote health messages to youth and participate in more events." So the photo obviously is taken out in the front here at a recent meeting, and this is some of the members there. In closing, youth engagement isn't just a program. It's a foundation for lifelong impact. By combining school-based strategies with broader community efforts, we're building more than just programs. We're nurturing a generation of skilled, confident health champions. These young people are not only advocating for their well-being today, but are being equipped to lead and inspire healthy communities well into adulthood. This is how lasting change begins, through youth, with all of us behind them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Do we have any questions for the delegations? I do, actually. So I know that with each one of our communities, I believe all of our communities have a youth council as well, too. And I know within Whitby, our youth council is quite a large group of youth that get involved in multiple different events. And I have the opportunity once a year to also meet with them as a whole. One of the feedbacks that I receive from some is that the ability to be included within a initiative such as this for youth engagement, how do you engage all to be a part of this? I know it's a difficult question because not all want to be engaged, but how do you try to get them engaged and make sure you have a good representation across the board as to who is sitting around that table to give an equal voice?
Yeah, thank you for your question, and through the chair. So, to try to get everybody included, it really happens through the multiple strategies we have, both in school. So there's the opportunity through school-based, where they're going into schools, they're working with each other to. So if they're not a part of a youth group, there's still opportunity, because not all want to be necessarily in a leadership role within the youth group, but they're still interested in participating. So by being able to participate in that through their school, that gets them included in kind of leading within their school community, and then also, when they go to events that are in the community, I think by trying to engage with them or get perspectives, and they can shape different initiatives that we're or messaging that we're a part of, they get their voice heard through the youth group members. Is that?
Yeah,
kind of what you're asking?
that's fair. I generally present to grade 5s and to grade 10s within their civics classes, and quite often within the grade 10s they'll share that well, we don't matter. You're not going to listen to us anyways, and factually that's not true. I'm going to share that we're building a recreational facility, and with the input that we receive from the youth, it actually drove decisions for change to include such like a pump track, which we never had on our plans to be a part of it. Within that, that's just a proof that the voice can be heard. But overall, like I would say the grade 5s are very, very engaged, and when you can put it into the context of where it applies to what's physically happening within, like at the municipal level, the understanding of how we apply and work together with the community, that relation is one that's taken away. The grade 10s, a little different, but still at the grade 10 level, when you start applying it to what's important to you within the community, are your sports, arts, or do you skateboard? Like, it's like what within the community is important to you, and helping them to understand how our role, one municipally, but then bring it to the next level with the provincial and then the federal. It is it'd be helpful to, and we even have it with adults too, right? So like but I just want to make sure that, because I get shared with that opinion a lot from a lot of the youth when I go into the schools.
Yeah, I do think it's unfortunate that some have had that experience, but I think that we're in a different we're trying to be better, and by, getting their feedback and then they see it being acted on, that starts to build trust, and then they start to participate a little bit more. So it is a process, and they actually have to see that you're taking our feedback and then you're acting on it. And I think
Yeah.
once they see that, then it contributes to further engagement with them. But I do think it's a process that you can't just take some of their feedback. You actually have to do something with it, and that's what we're trying to do for sure with a health group, and then through what they're doing in schools. So I think when they see that, then it kind of promotes engagement a bit further.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I know you have to leave as well, too. So thanks for your presentation today. Next, I'm going to call upon Alana Banton, Manager of Housing Programs, Rent Supplement, and Portable Housing Benefit Programs. Alana. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for having us this morning. I have with myself Thalia Breen and Matt Prasad. They are two members of the Housing Services Division and on the Rent Supplement team. And also I have my team as well. Some of them came out to support us this morning. So as you know, Housing Services oversees 4 main areas, which is the Durham Access to Social Housing, which is DASH, or our wait list. We also have the Durham Region Local Housing Corporation, Housing Programs, which is my team, and the Community Housing Administration team, which oversees nonprofit and co-op housing providers. So as you know, the current demand of housing in the region is growing. We have over 10,785 people on our wait list as of 2024. This number continues to increase, making the need even higher in our community. With only 183 people or 183 applicants being housed in 2024, this is a demonstration of the continuing need that needs to be housed in our community. To bridge the gap, our team has 4 main focus areas that we focus on. So that is the Rent Supplement Program, the Portable Housing Benefit, and then also, and then also the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit. We also have our new program, the Durham Affordable Housing Rent Program. I will now have Thalia Breen take over and speak to our Rent Supplement Program.
Thank you. So the Rent Supplement Program, this is a long-standing program in Durham Region. It is funded by the region through the Durham Rent Supplement and by the province through the Ontario Homelessness Prevention Program. The Rent Supplement Program is in collaboration with private and nonprofit landlords to house low-income individuals and families. These partnerships allow us to maintain and increase our legislated service level requirement while creating options for residents in our community. Vacancies are filled through the Durham Access to Social Housing waitlist or through community agencies working directly with residents living with low income. The lease agreement is between the tenant and the landlord. Tenant rent is calculated using rent geared to income. The region pays the monthly subsidy directly to the landlord and, under certain conditions, compensates landlords for vacancy loss and damages. Rent Supplement staff practice due diligence to ensure rents are modest and in line with local market rents. This is a visual representation of our Rent Supplement programs by municipality. As you can see, it is differentiated between Durham Rent Supplement and the Homelessness Prevention Program. There's a total of 551 rent supplements currently provided by low-income individuals and families in Durham Region. Next, I'll be speaking to the Durham Portable Housing Benefit. The Durham Portable Housing Benefit is an alternate form of financial housing assistance that housing programs offers. It is a portable housing benefit that can be used anywhere in Durham Region. The Portable Housing Benefit was created to meet local housing needs by offering flexible, monthly housing support to eligible residents. The program initially started with 70 benefits. A recent council-approved expansion adds 200 more benefits to support additional households facing homelessness and housing affordability challenges. Vacancies are filled through the DASH waitlist or via community agency referrals. Priority is given to individuals escaping violence, those with disabilities, people experiencing homelessness, as well as youth, large families, newcomers, and refugees. You can see here a visual representation of the current Durham Portable Housing Benefit allotment per municipality. With the expansion of this program, there will be a significant increase to benefits in the community. And now my colleague Matt will share information about the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit.
Thanks, Thalia. Another housing program that the region facilitates is the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit, or COB for short. COB is a federally funded and provincially funded program to address housing affordability by providing monthly portable housing assistance directly to a household or landlord. This program targets households on the DASH waiting list, those experiencing and at risk of homelessness, persons escaping violence, and a portion to address Durham region's local needs. In 2024, as a request from the province, our team was able to enroll 173 more residents and 50 individuals currently in shelter or encampments. This allocation was in great collaboration with our homelessness team in IEHSD to support a critical need for unsheltered residents. As of 2025, there are 1,170 residents of Durham region currently in receipt of the COB and 1,198 residents referred from Durham. So this would be a visual representation of our Canada Ontario Housing Benefit recipients by municipality. Additionally, with new investment in our Housing Services Division, our team was able to develop a new program known as the Durham Affordable Housing Rent Program. This program will bridge the gap between market rent set by landlords and affordable rent. This program will partner with landlords and developers to increase availability of affordable housing options. The goal of this program is to strengthen community partnerships, encourage housing diversity, and promote social and economic inclusion. Our partnership with Atria Development was launched in March of 2025 and will house 50 new households from the DASH waiting list, community partners in the housing sector. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Alana.
So running a program like this does have some challenges as well. So I touched on 4 areas here in the presentation. So the first one I have here is tenancy challenges. So many of our tenants in the programs require supports around navigating their disability, pest, and hoarding issues. We do have an increase of people living with mental health and addiction as well. Additionally, as some of our seniors in the community are aging without family support, our team has been filling in the gap and providing that support for them as well. The next area I have is commitment of programs. So as you know, Matt mentioned or demonstrated in the previous slide, we have programs that have a funding restriction and end dates. This creates a sense of fear for some of our applicants who would like to enroll in some of these programs but are fearful of the program ending. So for example, the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit has an end date of 2029. And we have yet to have any communication from the ministry or the federal government of what will happen next after this. The next point is the affordability in housing stock. So with many of our recipients on social assistance, affordability is a challenge that low-income residents face. Rising costs from housing, food, and other goods and services can put a strain on their budget, causing them to make difficult decisions or choices. While the region is doing amazing growth in housing development, we still have some trouble housing some of these clients in affordable options. The last one is staffing capacity. As our portfolio grows and new units are being added to our program, our staffing capacity must as well. Not only do we have a small team, but staff have been expected to act as social workers to support the growing needs of our tenants in areas of mental health, financial literacy, and hand-holding for continued eligibility in our program. Now, despite the challenges, our team does a really good job with addressing these areas. So without the support of community partners and collaboration, we wouldn't be where we are. So many of our community partners step in to support our clients when needed. Our staff is really great and having relationships with some of these partners as well. And they've played a pivotal role in addressing some of the needs that we have. The next one is Made in Durham responses. So this speaks to our Durham portable housing benefit. So having a Durham portable housing benefit is dedicated to our community and supports individuals living in our community. So having responses like this can support us to continue to help the people that are in need. The next one is advocacy. So many members of my team, Aaron, myself, we sit on different tables and working groups where we're able to advocate on behalf of our sector, our community, and our residents as well. The final point I have is liaison between landlord and tenant. So staff have been working tirelessly with landlords to maintain the tenancy to ensure rental payments are made, addressing behavioral issues with some of our tenants, and adhering to the maintenance requests. So the new tenancy support position that we'll be having in our program will have a dedicated staff to provide those supports, education, and resources to our landlords.
We have received a lot of positive feedback from our partnering agencies and have selected testimonials from 2 of our agency partners to share with you. I'll speak to one of these testimonials to be mindful of time. A representative from the Starfish Parent Support Program said, "Parents of children with cognitive challenges are a group of people who have been marginalized and discriminated against for decades. They are all in receipt of ODSP, but with the price of rent and the continued discrimination from landlords, securing a COB benefit is life-changing for these families." One of the parents stated that she can finally have some stability and afford to pay her rent on time, while another said she can finally afford to eat. For me, as a service provider, it makes securing apartments a feasible task, as without it, many of our families live in shelters or on somebody's couch for months before I am successful and able to get a roof over their head. The benefit transforms the lives of families so that they can be successful, safe, and thrive in their own homes. These are the testimonials from our tenants. Again, for the sake of time, I'll speak to one. Our tenant Abigail said, "After finding myself in a situation needing housing support when I returned to the work market, Durham Housing certainly provided me with a lifeline. The support workers here are amazingly supportive and cooperative. They were kind and diligent as they helped me to navigate the different programs to find one that worked for me. I was able to have a beautiful, safe home that also allowed me to take care of my health situation as I focused on my recovery from a very bad fall. I now have a stable home, a new sense of hope, and a future which allows me to do the volunteer work I enjoy in my church community. I am extremely grateful for all of the support I received over the years. This program can make all the difference in the world for you."
Our relationships with our landlords are also vital to providing affordable housing options in the community. For the sake of time, I will speak to one of these testimonials. This testimonial is from Fahim of Taj Capital Holdings, and he quotes, "We have seen many benefits working with the region of Durham. This includes support with any of our tenant issues, support with tenant damages, and any need to help and ensure that the resident is adequately supported."
With that, I want to thank you for listening to our presentation, and listen, if anyone has any questions, we're all good.
Thank you very much. Is there Mayor Carter?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Just want to go to the Bridging the Gap Rent Supplement Program. I'm wondering if the delegation might be able to tell us what's the average rent in Durham region for a one-bedroom apartment?
Got that right?
We're getting that answer for you.
Great, thank you.
So we have it by municipality, if that's okay. So for
Yeah,
North,
it just,
Oh.
whatever's easier.
that's Oshawa? Okay, no problem. So for North Oshawa, we have $14.98 for a one bedroom. A two bedroom in North Oshawa is $16.46. I'll do the other part of Oshawa, South and Central Oshawa. We have one bedroom is $17.22 and two bedrooms $17.36.
Okay. And so on the rent supplement, what is the percentage that you give if we use, let's use the lowest number, which is $14.98, $1,500 a month. How much of a rent supplement is given towards that $14.98?
So we usually do 30% in rent supplement. So that's like our RGI calculation of their income, yeah.
So
So I can give you
30%.
a number. So it's on average, sometimes it's around $500-600, depending on their income. Maybe for those who have maybe on social assistance, and depending on the
So,
rent. Yeah.
so in this circumstance at $14.98, they would get a rent supplement of $420. Is
So
that my calculation
it's
correct?
also depending on their income. Yeah.
No, no, I get that,
Oh
but
yeah. Sorry,
I'm just
Aaron's gonna
trying to
jump
make
in.
it simple as possible. So 14.98, 30% of that is about $420, correct? So
Mayor
that
Carter, we're going
leaves
to
us
have
with,
Aaron, Mayor Carter, we're going to have Aaron give further comment.
oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Through the chair, Mayor Carter. So for our standard rent supplement program, the tenants pay about 30% of their income and we bridge the difference. So the amount that the region pays in a rent supplement to the landlord would vary based on what the tenant pays. For residents who are in receipt of social assistance for a one bedroom, for example, they would pay the shelter portion that's provided to them by Ontario Works or the Ontario Disability Support Program, and we would pay the difference up to the market rent. For our
So can we,
new program, for the affordable rent program, the tenant is responsible to pay about 80% of average market rent. So that's how we define what the affordable rent threshold is. And then we pay the difference between what the tenant pays, so that 80% of average market rent, and what the market rent is to the landlord.
so I need to simplify this just so I understand it a little bit better. So we've got a base rent of $1,498. What is an individual on OW? What do they receive a month? $745?
They receive 731, but their shelter portion, I believe, is
390.
390. So they would pay $390.
Okay, so they get $745 plus $390?
No,
No.
so of the $700, the 390 is their shelter portion, so that's what they pay for their portion of the rent.
They pay $390. And then in this circumstance, that means that the region would pay $1,100
Yes,
for that unit. So they would pay
Yeah.
$1,100 for that one bedroom apartment.
yes, the region would pay the difference.
All right, that's good. So I have a better understanding. That's what I couldn't understand is that difference. So it's not the $390. It would be the almost $1,100 that the region would pay in regards to that one bedroom at 1498.
Yes.
So that's a really good. That's a great gap that you guys are filling for those individuals. So that's wonderful. Okay, no, that's good. So, Madam Chair, just the other question is, I noticed that you spoke about Atria Developments that have 50 units that they've gone into an agreement in March of this year. Could you just speak a little bit about that? How did that come about, and why is that important in regards to the 50 units that they're providing?
Yeah, so sure. We were approached by Durham nonprofit of a developer or a property management or a property owner that was looking to fill some units.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? So Durham nonprofit mentioned that to us, and we were open to meeting with them and discussing how that will work out with our program. So we currently have some programs that exist. However, this was a little bit different because the rents were a little bit higher, and the developer decided to come down to closer to the AMRs for us, which was really good. So we were able to have an agreement, and with the new affordable rent program, we'll be able to pay a good amount for those units, those 50 units that we have now, and be able to house people in an area or in a community that they're really excited to, and the units are really beautiful as well. So they did offer us
Yeah.
the 50 units, and they're hoping to expand more, and we can add more people from our wait list in those units.
So that's the I think the region participated with a regional revitalization program also to assist that. So
Okay.
this is 50 units that have been made available also at the same time. So that's good. Now you did say that there was another developer that is also participating in your testimonial, I believe.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
Fairham
Fahim?
Taiji Capital Holdings. Vahid, is it?
Fahim, yeah.
Whereabouts are they?
So
Yeah,
they are
whereabouts?
a I believe it's a property or landlord that we have in our rent supplement program, and they have a few properties around, I want to say, 33 Gib. Oh, 330 Gib. And so they have a property there and they provide rent supplements with us. So those partnerships are really key in our program.
Now, are you getting more interest from developers in other communities to be able to provide this kind of opportunity?
We have been getting interest in the private, well, with private landlords wanting to add more units to our program, which has been pretty amazing. And then also there's other nonprofit developers that are growing and looking to have our commitment to filling units when they complete their build.
Okay, so you do have other
Yes,
communities that
yes. So
are.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. And is there anything, it's just, uh, when you do these agreements with the landlord, you try and negotiate the market rent that is average market rent, and then based upon what Aaron said, then you calculate how much is paid to the landlord in regards to that. And you're finding the developers, they're excited about this program?
They are. I feel in conversations with Atria, recent conversations with Atria, they've been really excited about this partnership. It's been really good having the time with my team to collaborate to do something like this. If you know, in the past, it's been very hard to have units outside of social housing. So we're in a very critical place right now with, as you're seeing, rents are dropping, where landlords are coming back to the table. So it's been really great for us, and we're seeking that opportunity to bring in more units into our programs to grow.
That's great. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your deputation. I've learned a great deal out of what you're doing. Madam Chair, I'm encouraged by seeing the developers that are participating in this way. And I think it gets units faster. So we're not building them, but we're finding a way to do it. And it gets them into mixed communities, mixed income communities. And I think that's another benefit. And so that's great news. That's absolutely wonderful. So hats off to everybody. Thank you very much for your answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Thank
Mayor
you.
Carter. Councillor Brenner.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I want to focus a little bit again back on the rent supplement program. And specifically, in the city of Pickering, where there has not been any new increase in RGI units that I'm aware of anywhere within our municipality for many, many, many years. And not because of the region, by the way, but more because of a lack of want, I believe, at that point in time by developers and builders. As you pointed out, times have now begun to change. Are you looking at, or do you have the ability to do an outreach to existing landlords? Because we have two pieces. We have developers that want to develop, and we can do those referrals, and those become more and more easier. But that's going to take many, many years. With the existing housing stock, there are some rental units within, as an example, the city of Pickering. Do you have the ability, or do you have an inventory of the private rental buildings? They're not a lot, but the ones that do exist. And are you considering doing some type of a outreach or some type of a roundtable meeting, if we could pull those landlords together to be able to get some of the rent supplement units within those buildings? I think there's one that was just built on White Road, actually, which
Yes.
are rental units. We all got calls from people wanting to get transfers there, but it's private. Are you able to reach out to them? Have you reached out to them? And is there anything that I can do or that we can do collectively to try and get more of these private landlords that have these buildings and units
Okay.
some of their units on our rent supplement RGI program?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the goals this year for our team is to do a landlord engagement session or some outreach in the community. So one of the first steps that we'll probably do is do an environmental scan to see what landlords we currently have and the ones that we're not working with already. But most of the time, landlords come to us. So, and that's really an interesting place because coming from a background, you usually have to go out and ask landlords to join your program. But we're in a good spot where landlords are coming to us and coming to the table to us and asking us to get into partnership. But that's something that our team is planning on doing this year, doing some more outreach with different landlords within Durham Region to see how we can bring them into our program. But I know the property that you're talking about, I actually drove by it and saw a leasing sign. So that definitely will be on our list to kind of do some outreach there to see if they'll be interested in doing.
I'll put this out on the table if you're interested.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind providing and assisting to do a hosting within the city of Pickering.
That's great.
And bringing them together sooner than later. And I don't mind doing some of the legwork on it with you. And I hope you'll take me up on the offer.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
let's get some more RGI units in the rent supplement program in Pickering.
Absolutely. That'll be great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wu.
Yeah, good morning, and through the chair, and thank you, Alana, for the presentation. A question I had, and I think getting developers and landlords on side, and I noticed through your slide presentation, and certainly in slide 5, the rent supplement plan, where you speak to the region will under certain conditions, compensate landlords for vacancy loss and damages.
Mhm.
And I also see that in slide 29, landlord testimonials. Do you find that because you're offering or providing that type of condition and assurance that landlords feel a little bit more comfortable in being part of this program?
Absolutely. Durham is an area that has this opportunity. Not every service area has this. So it's one of the best things that we have from coming from a different service area. I'm happy to see that we have this because it's more attractive to private landlords and developers who want to join in the programs with us. As you know, unit turnover and damages can happen. And it can be a lot of financial burden for some of these landlords, especially the mom and pop landlords. So we've been able to bridge that by providing that vacancy loss and also paying for damages within limits because we are funded through our taxpaying dollars. So we do make sure that we are able to ensure that those amounts are within our limits. Yeah.
Now, have you run into situations where you do get into arrears and let's just say trying to deal through the landlord and tenant agency for eviction? Has that been a case?
Where some of our tenants have arrears and trying to navigate that. So
Yes.
we do see that a lot, but our team does a really good job in having great communication with the tenants. So they do want to make sure, and the landlords as well. So the landlord usually reach out and let us know that, hey, this is a rent supplement tenant that you have. They haven't paid the rent or there's arrears occurring, and our team can step in and find ways. It can be something as simple as a change in banking information, and we're able to top that up with supporting the tenant to top back up their rent. Also, there's other services within the region that we have. The housing stability program is really helpful as well. So we're able to tap into that when someone has arrears or facing eviction, and they can pay for some of the payments for some of those people to keep them housed, which is the main goal.
Okay. Thank you very much, and great job to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you mentioned 330 Gibb. I've had a lot of complaints about that building through the years. The elevators are down quite a bit. A lot of vulnerable citizens living in there. I don't know if they've changed ownership or not, but you can check our Service Oshawa records and you can see the complaints.
Councillor, I think what we could do is take that as a sidebar, and if you would mind passing that along, and I'll ask that the commissioner get back to you on that, specifically on that address.
Yeah, because one time Oshawa councillors ran at large, so I got the complaints because it was South Oshawa. I'm of course North Oshawa, so I had those in the past, but just lately they've been coming in again
Okay, well,
because they have my name down there. So, okay,
okay,
thank you.
thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know this won't be a popular thing, but we have, in my ward anyway, we have a nonprofit housing. I don't believe it's under the Durham Region's umbrella, although it does receive funding through Durham Region. And we've had multiple shootings in this area. And on Monday, we'll be having a community healing meeting because the residents outside of this area are very concerned for their own safety. So as much as I know this is necessary and this type of housing is the reality that we need to build, there are circumstances that happen. 90% of the people that live there are very good people and have to live there, but there are the kind of bad seeds that make it really bad for everyone around them. So these are the challenges that and in my ward anyway, that we're facing and that we have to address on a daily basis for the surrounding neighborhood, not necessarily the neighborhood, because we don't have much control over that. So it's not really a question, I apologize, but if you have, okay, here's this. If you have any suggestions, I'm open to all of them.
I think quite frankly that with regards to the presentation, the situation can happen anywhere within our community. I had it a block away from my own home and a single detached home. So the issue of community safety is something that collectively together that we can work together also with the Durham Regional Police. The stigmatism of stating that those who live in low social economic housing does not signify that the individuals are criminally active. There are criminals throughout our whole community, and I don't want to have the messaging moving away that rent geared to income is one that is creating that it is a ghetto type of mentality, which it is not, because I know that for many of our housing units, we have a lot of seniors who reside within these areas. And I would hope that, again, it comes back to not working in silos, but working collectively together from our Durham not-for-profit, for the Durham region, and also to our police to ensure that we look at community safety as a whole for everybody.
Absolutely.
That was not what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because we do have nonprofit housing in the area that has no issues. All I'm saying is this is raw, and I've also had shootings in areas that aren't nonprofit. So you're absolutely correct, but this is raw in my community today.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I can appreciate that. Any further questions? I do have questions. So within the recent announcement from the province and the Ontario taking action to protect parks and public spaces, there's commentary within this announcement that $5.5 million to top up the Canada-Ontario housing benefit. And you commented that we don't know what's going to happen once 2029 comes into place. $5.5 million is not going to work with what we're just talking about here right now. And I know that it's stated that over $400 million is invested from Ontario and the federal government between 2023 and 2024. What amount of money, or what should the increase be? And I don't know if you know it or the commissioner. I don't know if we know this answer. What should that increase be?
I don't have a number. Maybe Aaron can
No,
step in.
that's okay, because
Yeah.
I know the number's probably substantial.
It is, yeah. I think Aaron wants
Yeah,
to.
it's old funding. I know that this is old funding. And the second question is that I have had opportunity to meet with a number of developers within the community and have steered them towards this opportunity, because as they're moving from the condo development thought process, and that is no longer an action for many developers, they're now looking at rentals, and then they find out about the rent geared to income, and this is one where they want to become a part of of this program. What commitment do they have to give to stay within this? Because, well, when the market becomes good, can they drop off?
So this is an area that Aaron and I collaborated a lot, and even with my team, we had so many thoughts. I think this drove us crazy for 2 weeks because all we were thinking about was how do we ensure that the sitting tenants are safe once these agreements end? How do we ensure that they're not going to be rent evicted or discriminated against or pushed out? So one of the things that we did in our agreement was like any landlord, they don't want a long-term agreement. So especially right now, so we committed to 3 years with the landlord to have this agreement, basically providing the affordable units. Beyond the 3 years, we made a condition that they will not go over the RTA's limits of rent guidelines. So that currently I think it's around 2.4 for rent increases. So they decided that regardless of when the agreement ends, beyond those dates, they're not going to increase the rent beyond the RTA's limits or the ministry's limits on the rents. So that's a good thing, because what happens is also the building was built, most of these buildings are built post 2018. So with that change in legislation that happened, rent increases can happen and it can be significant. And so we wanted to ensure that our not only us paying for the difference, but for the people that are living there are not going to be in a position where they can no longer afford the rent anymore. So the landlords committed to that. Well, Atria Development committed to that, and that was really shocking, and it was great opportunity to know that we can have that leverage. If they want our support now, this is what we need in the long term.
Okay, I appreciate that. And just additionally, and I think this is either to the CAO or to the commissioner, as this legislation was presented just a couple of weeks ago, that within this legislation, what funding is present there, but also the talking about the housing units and also the dealing with the encampments, which is another area that quite concerned about because there's no jail space, like reality is. And just having had dealt with a number of our encampments throughout our whole community, we don't have room in the inn.
That's correct. I think to truly deal with the encampment issue, there needs to be an investment in affordable, supportive, and deep affordable housing.
Yeah, okay. And are we going to be giving feedback on the legislation?
Through the chair, through you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're giving feedback through our local sector organizations, and even offline to that, I'm having regular meetings with the deputy of MMH and trying to unpack what does all this mean and what are the expectations from them.
Because this is like not just with social services and housing, this is also policing as well too. Like this is not like single to, and I know in some cases even with policing who have supported our bylaw enforcement in the removal of, but the actual arrest, it has not been taking place necessarily. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. I am going to ask that if there's a potential and possibility, and I don't know if we require a motion for this, that you come to our June Committee of the Whole, because I think it's very important that all council hear your presentation and the talking about housing affordability and what it actually looks like within the social services programs as we move forward, because I don't think it's quite understood as a whole. Do you need a motion? Can I have a motion to bring this to Cal? Moved by Councillor Brenner, second by Councillor Jubb. All in favor? Sorry, Councillor Neal, you have a question? Or you?
No, I was just going to move the motion, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And next I'm going to turn to Sahar Fortani, Manager of Homelessness System Management. And thank you all for being here this morning as well too. And winter warming update.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of committee. My name is Sahar Fortani, and I'm the manager of the Homelessness System Management Team. I'm here today to provide an update on winter warming for 2024-2025 season. I want to start with speaking a little bit about the by name statistics. On the left, you can see the 3-year trend in the number of people on the by name list for Durham. The dotted lines represent 2022 in red, 2023 in orange, and 2024 in yellow. We've seen a significant rise from mid-2022 to mid-2023, and an upward trend has continued into 2024. By December 2024, the number had reached just under 800 individuals, an ongoing increase in homelessness. As of March 2025, the total number of people on the by name list is 878 individuals. Of those, 53.9% are chronically homeless, meaning that they've experienced homelessness longer than 6 months. Even more striking, 92.5% are identified as having mid to very high acuity, indicating complex needs, mental health, addiction, physical difficulties, as well as having additional vulnerabilities that make housing stability extremely difficult. In the bottom right, we have a breakdown of the active homelessness population by municipalities. Oshawa continues to see the highest concentration with 435 individuals actively homeless, followed by Ajax at 185, Whitby with 122, and Clarington with 70. Brock, Scugog, and Uxbridge have smaller representation, but we still understand that those areas face significant challenges as well. That's compounded with limited services and housing stocks. Looking at the demographics of homelessness, as per the by name list in 2024, numbers show that 61% of people identify as male, which is consistent with the broader trends nationally where single men are overrepresented in the homelessness population. 38% identify as female, and 1% identified as transgender, other, or unknown, although this may be underrepresented due to stigma. Youth aged 16 to 24 made up 14% of the homeless population, signaling the need for early interventions and youth-specific services. The largest group, 76%, were identified as adults between the ages of 25 to 59, representing the prime working years and highlighting the potential connection between homelessness and challenges related to employment. Seniors made up 10%, and this number we are watching extremely closely as seniors are increasing their risks due to fixed income and rising rents. So to speak to what Alana was representing, COB benefits and RGI units as much needed as possible. We know that the Indigenous people are disproportionately represented in the homelessness population. And as you can see, we've got 5% that have identified as First Nation, 2% at Métis, and a small proportion as Inuit. Another 5% identified as non-Indigenous, and the number, although not huge, are significant, given that Indigenous population are a much smaller population from our overall population. It emphasizes the need of culturally appropriate and Indigenous-led housing and supportive services as well. A large majority, 68% of those individuals experiencing homelessness are identified as single individuals, while families made up of about 14%. The Winter Warming Initiative is one of the most vital seasonal responses to homelessness, ensuring that people have a safe place to go when the temperatures drop. This past winter, the program operated from December 1st until March 31st. Most sites offered pet-friendly services, recognizing that many individuals will not access sites if they can't bring their pets inside with them. The goal of winter warming is to provide safety, dignity, and connection to services during the colder months. Each site provided a place to stay overnight with staff on site to support hot meals, snacks, warm beverages, clean clothing, blankets. Basic necessities were provided to help individuals that made a difference for them in the harsher weathers. Access to showers and bathrooms, although we only had one location that had a shower, and laundry, helped really maintain their hygiene as well as sense of normalcy. Sites also offered information and referrals to social services, including mental health and addiction service supports, helping connect people on a more long-term basis even after the winter warmings would close. The Durham Region Street Outreach Team played a key role by helping individuals get to and from warming sites using taxis and Durham Region Transit. This transportation supported because it removed the major barriers to accessing services, especially where transportation was limited or where individuals could not walk long distance in the freezing weather. The next two slides will speak to the location and capacity of each site with our overnight drop-ins as well. As you will note, I will just show you, so this was our overnight drop-ins, and these were our locations. As you note, we continue to expand winter warming capacity to respond to the increasing number of individuals experiencing homelessness. This expansion is essential to ensure availability across the region, as well as making sure that no individual is left behind. Over the past season, our system supported 788 unique individuals. It's important to note that these numbers are not including those that access the Ajax overnight drop-in or Duos drop-in program. Considering that those were drop-ins, obviously those numbers were much significantly higher, and both of those sites could accommodate 50 plus each night. I wanted to note that the homelessness system team had regular weekly meetings with the providers to ensure operational alignment, addressing challenges, and building support and relationship across the agencies. We had real-time communication which allowed us to have daily updates, available spaces, and quickly connect with individuals to address urgent needs. Also, agencies took a peer-to-peer learning, and they visited each other's sites to exchange best practices and strengthen their service delivery. The success of our winter warming program has been deeply rooted in strong partnerships. Our street outreach team adjusted their schedules during the winter month to ensure enhancement coverage at the winter warming sites. Through daily engagement, the team conducted regular wellness checks and connected individuals to much needed services, including healthcare and other supports. PCOP provided a primary care as well as mental health and addiction counseling for our participants at winter warming during before and after hours that were being offered. This helped reduce barriers to care, also ensuring the continuity of care beyond the winter warming sites. Coordination between our Durham Region outreach team as well as PCOP has been a powerful example of how integrated services can improve outcomes for the vulnerable population. We also wanted to acknowledge the generosity of the community who stepped up and provided donations through warm clothing, hygiene packs, snacks, and even offered to pay for meals at the sites. These contributions made a tangible difference in the lives of individuals accessing these spaces. This partnership demonstrated what's possible when working together to support those experiencing homelessness, not just through services, but through compassion and shared responsibilities. While winter warming provides critical supports this season, we also encountered some key challenges that should be assessed to strengthen our processes for next year. One of our biggest limitations was that we had the lack of adequate cots to meet the demand of the overnight stays. Additionally, the absence of showers on site made it very difficult for the participants to maintain personal hygiene. A lack of laundry facility further compounded those hygiene challenges and impacted their dignity and comfort. Irregular hours in opening and closing at some site led to confusion and frustration amongst the participants. Many were unable to plan around access, which caused missed opportunities for rest with warmth and support. The limited ability of daytime support also left a gap for the services when individuals needed a space to go once the doors closed in the morning. We also observed gaps in public awareness and understanding of the purpose and the scope of winter warming program. In some cases, misinformation of lack of communication created unrealistic expectations. These challenges underscore the importance of ongoing investment planning, community awareness. Addressing these will allow us to build a more responsive, effective system of care for our future seasons. Despite the challenges, we saw significant successes this season, which demonstrated the real impact of collaboration and commitment to care. A key success for winter warming efforts was the direct housing of 6 individuals. These stable housing connections were made possible through the consistent on-site engagement and dedicated follow-up by staff. Additionally, 16 individuals transitioned into shelter, ensuring a safe, temporary accommodation while also creating pathways to more permanent housing solutions. Several individuals were successfully onboarded to the by name list, a critical step to connecting people with long-term supports even after the season had ended. Another key success was that no one was turned away without support. Even when a site reached capacity, a coordinated access system worked effectively to connect individuals to alternative locations, ensuring that everyone seeking a space had an option to go to attend. These successes highlight the strength of partnership, the effectiveness of coordinated service delivery, and our shared commitment to support individuals with homelessness. Another significant success this season came out of the Clarington community, where a true collaboration and partnership merged to support individuals experiencing homelessness in Bowmanville. Clarington residents, community organization, local churches, and charities, even the Bowmanville Library came together and invited staff from both municipality of Clarington and Durham region to form an integrated network of care that goes by ICONIC. This collective effort focused on raising awareness, identifying local needs, and delivering meaningful programs to support the unsheltered population. The group met regularly to discuss merging needs, shared resources, and coordinated outreach services to ensure people weren't left behind in the morning when the doors had been closed. As a result of this collaboration, daytime programming was made available every day of the week, offering a safe space for individuals to access in the morning when the doors had shut. The Clarington Initiative is a powerful example of what can be done when the community comes together. It reflects the strength of grassroots leadership, local partnership, and shared commitment to care. Looking ahead, we identify a key few areas of improvement based on what we have learned this past season. These recommendations aim to enhance service delivery, safety, and community understanding moving forward. First, we're looking at strengthening collaboration with police and bylaw services to improve response time at winter warming sites to promote a safer environment for both participants and staff. We're also looking to clarify patron conduct policies while ensuring that there are alternative plans in place for individuals who display repeated disruptive behavior so that everyone can access a space safely. We're collaborating with the regional communication team to build better public understanding of homelessness services and the role of winter warming sites. It is important to emphasize that winter warming is not a shelter. It's designed to bring people in from the cold and connect them to services during the winter months. We also continue to highlight that homelessness services are voluntary by law, meaning individuals cannot be forced to access any of the supports or remain indoors. We continue our partnership with local area municipalities to identify additional daytime space and explore new host sites for future winter warming programming. I've already started my connection with the local area municipalities to look at what spaces is available, making it a little bit more accessible. As I had mentioned earlier, one of the key components of having a shower was really, really significant. So that has continued, and we've started those conversations much earlier this year. We also recognize the need for a robust, safe staffing and strong partnership with mental health and addiction services to provide support on site. These recommendations reflect our ongoing commitment to improving the system, ensuring services are responsive, coordinated, and rooted in compassion and safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahar. Mayor Carter.
Good morning once again, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation. I've got several questions and I'm hoping to get to them very rapidly, and there may be some questions you might be able to answer and some you can't. I'm going to go to slide 2, where you have the breakdown of Durham Region homelessness numbers. You're an expert in your field. Can you tell me why Oshawa would have the majority of the individuals identified out of the 878 on the list? 435 would be in Oshawa. Do you have any insight in regards to why that is? Have you, because you guys collect data, so you probably know a lot of this, but I'm wondering if you might be able to give me an insight in regards to that.
Through the chair, historically, our services were situated in different, I would say, isolated spaces. So Oshawa was one and Ajax was one as well. So one of the things that
Yeah.
the system is really working towards is expanding those across the region. And as a result of that, Oshawa's population has significantly been higher over the years, and that is something
Yeah.
that we are working towards.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I'm going to go to slide number 3, just homelessness system, the snapshot. You have a gender breakdown. Have you been able to, and your team, been able to come to an understanding of why 61% of the individuals you're dealing with are males? What is the significance between males and females that we find males are more so the individuals that you're dealing with?
Absolutely. So 61%, as I had mentioned, these are national trends as well. So male have always been overrepresented. I feel with females, it's a little bit harder to identify. There's a lot of cross sectors as well where HT can, human trafficking can be involved, or a number of other aspects that could be involved as well. But generally speaking, what our numbers have shown is that the males have been much higher, and it is consistent across the nation as well.
So does that mean that we've got to design programs specifically for males more so? Because if it's such a large percentage, there's something happening on the front end. So is that something that some of the discussions your colleagues are having about how do we deal with males specifically, because they seem to be the largest population you're dealing with?
I'm going to defer to Lisa.
Okay.
So we are always looking at our population trends and specialized groups. Males, it sort of starts with the social determinants of health at younger ages and carries through in the presentation of men in the homelessness system, as well as in the justice system and other areas. So we're not necessarily looking at developing programs that are specifically for men, because we're seeing when people come into shelter, 1635 Dundas has given us some really good opportunity to see how people move in groups. And we are bringing men indoors when they can come alongside a partner, or it can be a few people with an older, sometimes it's been an older woman who they've come in a group. So we really are looking at what family groupings look like in the community and how we can really transition people indoors to programs that are a choice, right? We have to offer them the service, but they have to be willing to take it. So it is those social determinants of health, Mayor Carter.
All right. So I've always tried to struggle with this because I'm trying to figure out what do we need to do different in social services, in schools, when we see males are prominently the individuals that are seem to be a large portion of this population. I don't know if anybody has a clear understanding, and I know that you guys collect so much data. I'm just fascinated by it. So I'm just wondering. The one suggestion I would make, Lisa, is on the age group, you've got 76% of the people were adults, 25 to 59. It'd be interesting to see if you could get a closer breakdown of that from 25 to 35 instead of 25 to 59. That would be interesting too, because it's too bad that Cornerstone didn't come today, because they would have told you 90% of the people that we're dealing with at Cornerstone don't come from Durham region. That's number one. And they're seeing a huge population growth in seniors. And that's what's really concerning them, that senior population. So just a suggestion, I don't know if it's possible, but again, as you guys collect a lot of data, it may be beneficial, it may not. So
through the chair, the senior population is one we're looking at for services directly. On the by name list, when you look at 10%, you're looking at about 88 people that have actually registered for services that fit our seniors. But we can break the age group down more into smaller chunks. This is our reporting standard, is that adult age range. So I can get you some other numbers too.
Yeah, I'm fascinated, with those numbers, because what we experience here may be different in every community, right? So I just want to try and get a better understanding of that. So thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. there was information on the winter warming initiative on page 60 of 69. I think it's slide 4. Information, referrals to social service, mental health, addiction supports, and other community resources. Does that mean that you would like to have staff on site at these warming stations that have that expertise that could help those individuals navigate the systems and to be able to connect them with the services right away? Is that what you would like to see?
Through the chair, we do have individuals and staff that are on site that provide those services.
Oh.
But just to refer, I think maybe perhaps it was my last slide where we identified having more supports related to mental health and addiction on site might be beneficial. But all of our
Yeah.
sites currently have staffing that connect individuals to services, as I had mentioned with social services.
Okay, point of clarification. So you have regional staff on site at the warming stations to be able to provide those services?
The region funds providers, and our providers are also individuals that provide. However, outreach is on site at all of our winter warming locations throughout the night, and they too will provide services and referrals as needed.
Okay, and your sites that is giving this information, they are trained professionals certified to be able to do this work?
Our outreach staff are all trained to be
I
in the
get your
field.
outreach, that's not what I'm asking. Your outreach, I get. I understand that. The service provider, the individuals that are providing those services at those locations are registered professional individuals, trained individuals.
Through the chair, I'm not sure by registered professionals, but they are qualified to be doing the work that they're doing. They have the qualification that's needed to provide the services that's being asked of them to provide.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you on that, or I know our staff will challenge you on that, because we have a location that is run by a volunteer. So I'm not really sure, to our knowledge, it's never been brought up that that individual has the qualifications to do so. But that's for another day, so we'll leave that.
Mayor Carter, I think Lisa
Yes.
wants to make a comment as well.
Sure, not a problem.
This is a really interesting sector. So there are regulatory bodies and professional designations across many sectors. In the homelessness system, we do have people with masters of social work, social workers, mental health and addiction workers, individuals who've done certificates at the college level, and then individuals who work frontline who have a variety of backgrounds and credentials, and those are developed based on making sure we have multidisciplinary teams there, but also teams that will do the work. At times, it is individuals with lived experience who then have a college certificate or a course of a kind, but we do have set training that we expect everyone in the system to have. Winter warming is a little more difficult for overnight services. So really we're directing people or transporting people to daytime services to get more in-depth care, because people don't work overnight in any of the areas. And but all of our service providers have the requirements they need under the sector that they are working in.
Okay, I'm going to get my commissioner to follow up with you, because I believe that one of our operators does not have those qualifications, and I'd like to try and make sure we have it aligned. So I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you very much. I want to go to key challenges, if you don't mind, on page 65 of 69. It says not enough cots for overnight stays. So I wrote down here, what should be the target? Should it be 800 and, what is it, 878 people? Should it be like what is the number that we should really be targeting based upon your estimates and seeing the trending? What do you think that number should be across the region of Durham?
I think when we look at our by name list being 878, just under 100 cots isn't enough for the winter season. Although we did lean into our drop-in hubs that gave us space, but those were chairs that individuals sat in. I think we would need locally I can't I don't have the numbers to give to you right now. I'd like to give you accurate
Right.
numbers, but there would
Yeah.
definitely need to be an increase to be able to support the individuals that want to come indoors. And each
Okay.
municipality would be obviously based on their needs and their local numbers
Yep.
as well.
So I presume you guys are working on that to be able to kind of say, how many cots do we need for this upcoming winter season based upon the geographic breakdown, and then trying to solicit those locations, expertise, staff, and the resources that are necessary based upon what you've put out as key challenges. And I'm presuming you're doing that now.
And
So
through the
that,
chair, just to comment on that as well, that's why we heavily lean into the local area municipalities to provide
yep,
space that would be accurate and
yep,
acceptable and accessible. And
right.
oftentimes we're restricted with the spaces that are provided because of the numbers that we're able to actually host.
So that brings up the question. So the local municipality has the authority to be able to make sure that the proper staff training and facility is to the standards the municipality would require to be able to have that as a warming station then.
We lean into the local municipalities to support us with space, and we work with them very closely with fire as well as bylaw to ensure that the safety of the physical space is provided, and then we lean into our providers.
Right. So I'm going to go back to the question again.
Mhm.
Local municipalities are part of the solution, or part of the conversations about making sure qualified staff are on place, that we've got the right resources there, because we're dealing with the most complex individuals that have severe mental health or severe addiction issues. So we want to have the right people there. We don't. So I'm just want to make sure that that's clear. So the municipalities and the region work together to make sure the proper resources are at each location. Is that correct?
Correct. And oftentimes, through the chair, the providers will meet with the local area municipalities as well. So there's conversations there as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I notice on your key challenges, no showers on site and lack of laundry facilities. So is this something that you would like to make sure that all the warming stations across the region of Durham, that as they're being selected, these key challenges are addressed in the upcoming year?
It would be ideal to have showers and
Good,
laundry
good,
facilities on site.
beautiful, beautiful. That's great. It comes down to inconsistent hours. I don't understand that. Opening and closing times. Is there not a standard opening and closing time throughout the winter season that the region, if you're, and I'm presuming the region is providing funding to all these people, wouldn't there be a standard time that you would require each location, or right across the region of Durham, saying by 7 o'clock you're open, it closes by 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever? Is that something you're working on?
Through the chair, that is something that we would hope that it's consistent. However, we're limited with what the host allows us to. So oftentimes the location that's provided or that we move forward with has other events, or they have other speculations that doesn't allow them to allow us to operate from like 7 days a week. So oftentimes
Right.
we may lean into just based on weather and how cold the weather gets.
So
But that is
wouldn't it be
something
better?
through the chair we're trying to change.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, so it would be good as you're working these agreements, because you're funding them, you're paying them to provide these services, that there is a standard time that could work across the region of Durham. If they can't do it, they can't do it, and then you have to find another provider, and that would help with the inconsistency across the area.
Through the
The one that comes down here is awareness and education. It says misinformation on lack of understanding. Can you give me an example of that? I'm not really sure what that means. What does that mean?
through the chair, I oftentimes community feel that when we open winter warming, that it's equivalent to a shelter, and so some
Okay.
of the issues that may come up or concerns that may come up, it's around engagement and when was this approved? So those are some of the challenges that our team has to deal with on an ongoing basis. So it's just
Yeah.
about bringing awareness that winter warming is for a short period of time to bring individuals in, and then it would be closed until next season.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. I want to ask you, with the warming stations, is there a code of conduct that is put in place that each operator is expected to patrons that are receiving these services that they have they follow the code of conduct, and is it displayed within the warming stations themselves?
Absolutely. We continue to enhance our programming, and a code of conduct has been created. And we could look at making that public facing as well for the next season. And that's why I had mentioned that we are looking at better ways of ensuring safety for patrons as well as staff with individuals that have demonstrated repeated disturbance to the sites.
So I'd like you to send me that code of conduct, please, for each site, please, especially in our city, if you don't mind, just so I have a clear understanding of exactly what the code of conduct is inside the building and directly outside the building. That would be really helpful in regards to that. Have you looked at best practices across the country and said, are we aligning with best practices when it comes to warming? Or is this document what you're saying is that's what we need to achieve as best practices so that we're able to achieve safe, supportive, progressive sites for the warming area? Is that what I understand from this document, or is that something we're still trying to achieve?
Through the chair, by no means do we have all the answers, and we continue to
Yeah.
do environmental scans with all of the other communities. We sit on regular, meetings. We go to conferences. We look at different ways that we can enhance our programming. We lean into communities that perhaps have higher numbers. How can we learn from them? What can we adopt? It is as the population continues to change, as I had mentioned with the acuity level, the challenges also change. So something that may have worked a couple of years ago is currently not going to continue to work with this population. So absolutely, we lean into other communities to support.
What's the biggest thing you've learned in the last year in regards to the changing environment?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
What is the biggest thing you have learned over the last year in regards to the changing environments?
Well, that the acuity level has been a significant increase. When we look at past
Yeah.
acuity versus what the trends have been, it's been significant. But that then translates across our sectors as well, through our providers as well, and through what the community sees out in public.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is a severe concern, and that's why I think that there needs to be a relook in regards to who we have on site, what are the skills, the abilities, that the navigation skills, all of those. I don't believe, in my opinion, that we need a higher standard of frontline people on these sites to be able to make sure that we're coordinating it because of what you just said and what we're experiencing. The severity of what we're seeing cannot be done by people that are good-hearted, that are experts as addiction, experts in mental health, expert in this particular field. And if we're going to invest in these warming stations and we want success, I think that that would be a great initiative to undertake. But that's entirely up to the region, and that you guys will have to make that decision. That's just my opinion, but I really appreciate you answering my questions and also your feedback, because I couldn't agree with you more. You're doing a very hard job, but we've got to do something different because I think the severity of the illnesses are getting worse. Madam Chair, as usual, thank you very much for your opportunity to ask several questions, and I thank you very much for that opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sahar, for the very informative report. I could say excellent, but under the circumstances, there are 870 something names on it, which isn't good. And those, I know the 878, those are just the by name list. So it could be not that it could be. We know there are a lot more folks that are not on that list that needs help. So my question to you about is around mental health and addiction. And I know Mayor Carter touched on the qualifications of the folks that do these assessments or whatever. So you do these assessments and someone needs help desperately, help, institutionalized help, etc., whether it's an addiction center or a mental health facility. Is that available? Is that kind of service available for folks that needs that?
I will defer to Lisa.
So accessing services for individuals who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness is extremely hard. We work with DRPS and our hospital system as much as we can to look at apprehensions. Our experience this past winter with this increased complexity of people that we're serving is that we work really, really hard to have people apprehended or attend hospital or have their behavior mitigated, but they are staying with us or they are returning to us within a very short period of time. Recovery beds, like we have the Heart Hub initiative that will make a difference moving forward, but in Durham right now, accessing a recovery bed is a significant period of time. We do have some agencies that are doing great work with post-treatment, our pre and post-treatment houses within our system. And also we work very closely with Pinewood and other health service providers to support people. But really we tend to find we get a 3 to 5 day detox program in Durham when it's available. So accessing services is a definite challenge when we're talking about having professionals on site that are able to offer a high-end professional level of care. That is not something that the homelessness system is funded for.
So just as a follow, so you would say that's your biggest challenge so far? And to expound on that a bit, after the December to March, is there any mechanism for ongoing assistance, support for some of these folks?
So December to March, we have overnight warming. The individuals are still outdoors or using daytime programming during the day where they can find it. And then, April 1st, individuals re-entered outdoor spaces in the community. Our shelter system is consistently at capacity.
So at that point, after the end of March, you sever all ties with these individuals, so to speak?
Well, our teams don't, and neither do our community agencies. The service providers we're talking about, they stay connected. Outreach continues to work with, as well as PCOP and MHOP and our other service providers with individuals in the community. So really meeting them on the streets where they are existing because we don't have indoor spaces.
One final question. I know you might not know this. So of the 878, you wouldn't have figures what percentage would be suffering from mental health and addiction of that total?
Our numbers have been
Or some component of that or both?
Our numbers have been fluctuating between that 90 and 95% of people with mid to high acuity. So even if it's due to their circumstances, they've been outdoors with sleep deprivation and experiencing trauma for a significant amount of time over a 6-month period, and their acuity level can come back down when they're indoors. 92% are presenting with complex needs that are of a really serious nature that will require significant supports for a time being when they come indoors.
Thank you for all you do with limited resources. So thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dies.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm thank you for what you do, and it's very complicated. I understand. But you did speak about looking at the Out of the Cold program in all of our communities. I know last year we didn't really have one. CFOC took it over, which I thought was really good of them to do when they're doing everything else as well at the same time. My question is why we don't have drop in the Out of the Cold program that's 24 hours. So it's not okay to be outside at night when it's freezing, but it's okay to be outside during the day when it's freezing. So we're having a number of issues there with people losing, through frostbite, losing, the extremities, feet, fingers, toes, that kind of thing, ending up in hospital, and then they're pushed right out again on the street. So I know in 2018, when there was, the community actually in Ajax recognized there was an increase in homelessness, the churches were very proactive in coming together and working collaboratively for changes. And I'm wondering if that's an option we have, because the community does want to help. They're seeing the increase, and it's out of control, and they do want to help. And I do think there's a real issue about not having an out of the cold program that's 24 hours a day. And I know the challenges, but there might be not just the ability to come together with, people who perhaps we can train to do this, but also financially there might be some assistance there as well. So I wonder if we could kind of work on that. I'd be,
Through the chair, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to highlight Clarington as an example. And that is exactly how it started. It was community-based, it was charity-based, and they really took it upon themselves to see what the need was and how they can support within their community. And we were invited to sit as well to kind of just provide any type of support that was needed. But absolutely, that would be something that if we could look at working together, community members coming up and wanting to kind of provide that daytime programming during those winter months, that would be great.
Because I can tell you, realistically, COVID interrupted things, and everything was going very strong in those winters prior to COVID, and there's just a disconnect now, and we need to kind of reinvigorate the community to come back, which is never easy, I understand, but it's there. The other thing too is, and I think Mayor Carter touched on it, with respect to the increased number of men that are on the streets versus women. And that's a huge issue. And we know that it's not so easy for men to couch surf anymore. COVID sort of stopped that. But there's also an issue that women are targets on the street of violence and rape and all of those horrible things that go on. And I think we need to kind of look at how we can maybe protect both genders from what's happening, and maybe just have shelters for, women and men.
Through the chair, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we do see is where women will tend to move in with men for that safe. So they will risk their own instead of being on the street. So they will do the couch surfing piece, and hence why the numbers are much higher. And having specific shelters, which we also have that right now within the region. We do have males only, females only, as well as co-ed shelters. So that is something that we have across the region as well.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brenner.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Through you to our presenter, thank you very much, as always, informative, and your entire team does excellent work. I wanted to focus a little bit on the out in the cold situation in the city of Pickering. We heard from Mayor Carter about the large numbers in Oshawa, and in a sense, the inequity that other municipalities across the region need to step and do more, obviously, when we've got over 800 people that are out in the cold during the winter months. Currently, I know that Pickering, through DARS, has 20 cots that are available, and that's in the church that they partner with. And I understand DARS is looking at another option for additional cots, as well as perhaps come out of the cold even during the daytime, which I think is similar to what Councillor Dies is talking about. Are we making headway working with DARS in terms of, I know that they're looking at securing or trying to lease a piece of property and the structure to be able to kickstart. Do you have any update on that, or is there any barriers that perhaps maybe need some political assistance to help you remove those barriers if it's at a municipal level?
Through the chair, we do speak with DARS frequently, and I am aware of the programming that she wants to implement. It really comes down to the structure of the building that she's wanting to look at. So we can definitely connect if you'd like offline, but the safety and the ability of having individuals in that space comes first, and making sure that the permits are on place and that we could accommodate a number of individuals through cots in that space that's being provided. And sometimes that's the challenge. We will be provided space, but it's not appropriate space, or it doesn't pass bylaw or fire inspections. And we also don't have a lot of individuals stepping up to host either. So whenever we do have an individual or an agency or someone that wants to host, we do take that seriously.
No, I know you do, and I know that there is a structural problem, and we talk about the physical structure of the buildings that they've been looking at. The other evening, we had an opportunity in Pickering to have some businesses as part of a forum, and one of them was an excellent business. It's actually located in the town of Ajax, and I think it's called Skyrise. I think I may have the wrong name, but they do modular prefab, and they've done tiny type homes, and I think the region has used them, I think up in Beaverton, if I'm correct. And they were talking to me about perhaps providing or working with us to provide some mini modular sleeping quarters. In a sense, we'll call them sleeping quarters, to be able to put additional cots available as during the, well, not just the winter months, but to be able to have it in place for the as warming center, and also at the same time transitional housing, combining the two together. Is that something that the region would be able to fund if we could pull it off? I know that we'd have to find the land, and I think that would be my role to try and do that in our municipality. But from the capital component, is the region able to, through Health and Social Services or through your department, to be able to look at a funding partnership if in fact we can pull these modular buildings together as quick as I know we can? I was really impressed with their entire operation and their turnaround, and I've got to say it's all Canadian made, local made, which I think is important. But if we're going to try to go down that road, is it something the region might be willing through your area to look at? And is it realistic to obtain funds through other channels to assist to pull it off?
Through the chair. Oh.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor, I'm going to have the commissioner answer that question.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah, thank you, through Madam Chair.
I know it's another harebrained scheme, but...
Yeah, no, not at all. We definitely need to be looking at all types of housing for warming, for shelter, for longer term, and certainly through opportunities through the federal government and perhaps the province, although the province doesn't always support us with the capital funding. That is where we would look to achieve, to be able to do this, Councillor Brenner. So certainly we would be looking at the project, assessing it, and looking at the cost, because there are so many various types of housing like this. We'll sort of really need to look at, what's affordable, what is better for us to use in the region.
Great. Maybe we'll talk about it offline.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think that'll be my roller coaster project that I'm going to work on this summer.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wu.
Yeah, and thank you through the Madam Chair. And Sahar, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think Councillor Dyes brought up the question and you answered it. Community does want to help. And you mentioned about the Clarington and the Integrated Community Outreach Network in Clarington Iconic. And that is slide 11. Now, something that's unique with this, and again, I think sometimes it's relying on government to deal with this situation, but we had the community come together, and I wanted to mention that yourself and some of your staff members presented at Clarington Council, and we had members of Iconic there, and they should be recognized. And again, I think that's the compassion that we do have, the heart that we do have in Clarington, and also I like to think in Durham region and elsewhere. Now, the Iconic. Now, when I'm looking at December 1st and March 31st, that's when we have the warming centers, which you mentioned was different than a shelter. Now, what are the times that those that require the winter warming shelter, their times, is it 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. or something like that?
Through the chair, typically it's around 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. However, we have also gone as late as 9:30 p.m. to 8 a.m. Again, it's really reflective on the host site and what and when we can get in.
Okay. And when we spoke about, and I think there was talking about some of the programs and what are people going to do during the daytime. And I think we were lucky enough to have the involvement of our library, the Bonneville Library, and some of the other, if you want to call it, charities, such as the churches. Now, can you speak to what is different from Clarington and the other communities? They're all different in some ways, but is there lessons that can be used that we're doing in Clarington that other communities can also adopt?
Through the chair, the numbers in Clarington, again, have historically been lower. So we opened our first site for winter warming last year. So the community was able to be proactive as to how we approach the community, the homeless community. And although Iconic implemented the programming this year, the conversations had started last year. And there was a lot of coming together and figuring exactly what that need was. And then this year we were able to implement that daytime programming. I always say when there's a willingness, there's a way. So I think that if, community is aware of what the need is and the desire is there, we can make things possible. But the numbers also impact that as well. If we're looking at 70 in Clarington versus it being much higher in other municipalities.
Okay, thank you. And one thing that we did speak about, we identified was safety, certainly in the winter time, and a lack of, let's just say, could be lighting, but certainly sidewalks. And that's something that we are taking back to staff to deal with that issue. So there's always improvements that can be made to make things, I guess you want to call it warm and welcoming, but certainly safety. So I did want to say, Sahar, thank you to your staff for all that you do. It would be nice. You're the manager of Homeless Systems Management, and wouldn't it be nice that we could do away with that portfolio, not do away with you, but that portfolio, homelessness. But that, I think the way things are, we're going to see more of it. And I just wanted to bring one point, and I think Chair Roy mentioned, for those that go to winter warming or shelters or even food banks, there shouldn't be a stigma attached to it. We don't know the individual circumstances that may arise, but it is the reality today, and we should do whatever we can to help in the best way that we can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Henry.
Good morning, Chair Roy, and I apologize for being late. I was at a significant announcement that will benefit the region at OPG in Clarington today. So I heard a great presentation. I listened online back from the meeting to the meeting. On our point in time count, do we check or do we collect data on where the individuals actually come from?
Absolutely. Through the chair, we will have a report that will be coming out shortly on our findings regarding our point in time count, and there will be a breakdown in terms of demographics, locations, all of that will be highlighted within that report. But just to answer your question, When individuals are in a space, that is their home. And what we have been seeing is through our interactions with our outreach team, individuals will tend to stay where they have supports and where they identify as it being a safe space. So I know that there's often that misconception of individuals traveling. That happens, but majority of the individuals that we support in Durham, this has been predominantly their home. It's been situations that has caused them to be in that state, and the pandemic didn't help. So even though we had individuals that were maintaining, that caused them to cross over and now be on the street. So we could definitely pull more stats if needed. We're always looking at data integrity within the system as well. But I think it's important to know that individuals will tend to draw themselves to places where they feel that is their connection. That's where their roots are. That's where if they do need to go to use a bathroom or a shower, that there's at least that one connection that they may have.
Madam Chair, this goes to a conversation I had a little while ago. In communities that do not have supports, individuals migrate to communities where there are supports, and that even in in a community that has challenges, they are incredibly connected. And you will find that when somebody comes to a community, they will send that message out that there are great services. I believe Durham Region is probably the best example of any community in Canada for providing services to the vulnerable population. And people come here because they know that we're a caring community. So now for some latitude. It is not fair that there is not a plan that standardizes the quality of care across this country, because those communities that do nothing, those individuals will travel to communities who do something. And I think we can be proud of the 8 municipalities in the region for the great work that we do to support everyone in need. But we've become that lighthouse in a world of chaos, where people now come to our community because there is some level of help. But as more people come, the level of help becomes less and less and less. Madam Chair, you and I have had this conversation before about the struggles with paying for things that are on the property tax base. But without a national plan that puts everybody on the same stage, that makes it equal across the country, people will migrate across the country to get the services they need. Now, I'm hopeful that the new government recognizes the challenges of mental health, addiction, homelessness. We didn't hear a lot about it in the election. Heard a lot about a lot of other stuff. But this is one of the most serious problems that we have in this country. It is one of the most expensive problems we have in this country. It far exceeds automobile theft. Yet we can get a national summit on automobile theft, but we can't get a national summit on homelessness. And it was a shame that we couldn't attract the 3 leaders over the last period of their term in Ottawa to come to Oshawa to see their downtown, to come to Whitby and see their downtown, to come to Ajax and see their downtown, to go to Beaverton and see what we've done to solve that problem, or go to 1635 to know that we're making a difference. But property taxes are not a sustainable way to do this. And Durham, I say, and the 8 municipalities and the staff and the people that live in our communities do amazing work. But we will not be able to fix this. We are only putting a Band-Aid on a challenge that is a national challenge, and it is not a Durham challenge. So when someone that lands at the airport in Pickering, that comes out to Durham, that needs support, gets that support from us as an asylum seeker, and then we find out that the federal government is only going to fund 95% of the cost this year and 75% of the cost next year, that cost goes onto the property tax base. When we talk about building modular homes, and Councillor Brenner, you have a great idea, but we have a factory in Uxbridge called Hans Steel that makes modular homes. But there again, we pay for that off the property tax base. So Why can't we have this big conversation about who, what, when, why, and how we're going to fix this without putting the blame on anybody? Now, I apologize, that's my rant, I'm late. This is a problem that's solvable. I believe collectively the talent that we have in the region could be that lighthouse for the entire country. Beaverton Heights and 1635 Dundas are projects that we are very proud of, but this country can replicate. And imagine what would happen if there was 2 or 3 of those in each of the regions in Durham region, or if there was one in every community of 100,000 people. What a difference it would make. So I'll stop the rant, and I apologize.
No, you don't need to apologize, because just as we're sitting here, the announcement about development charges from the province just came through as well too. So what keeps you up at night? It's how are we going to pay for things? Like it's, we can build houses, but at the same time, we can build houses, but they'll be on a rural road. And so
if you've gotten that,
I will flip it to you,
well,
because
there's a number of counselors in the room. Could you give us an executive summary of what you just said, please?
So the minister just announced that Ontario plans to impose new planning rules on municipalities to boost housing. And this one is from Global News, so it's not the actual press release that has come. But the deferrals on the development charges will be to the point of occupancy. As to whether it's high density, medium density, that is not identified. It is identified that municipalities levy with the development charges to pay for infrastructure and to support new developments. Meanwhile, within the development charges, we know that they're used to pay for things such as new roads, transit, wastewater, and parks. And we saw from Bill 23 that we saw a reduction in our parkland allotment. And in Whitby alone, it was a $5 million hit for 1 year. Home builders for years have been calling on the province to work to reduce, to eliminate the charges, saying they raise the price of homes and de-incentivize new projects. So we don't have 100% what that is going to look like from Minister Flack. It is a tool to allow municipalities to help to push for costs for the price for young buyers. I'm not sure how that plays out for a reduction on the price of a home for a young buyer, because we don't have that written as to that commitment to reduce that price of that home in order to have that young home buyer purchase the home. But this is now, it's not just about the core services. It is now about the services of everything else that we're paying for within the envelopes. We're dispersing the money. Earlier on, though, too, I did raise about the issue of the announcement 2 weeks ago where we're dealing with the encampments. And I respect that, and it's something we've been asking for. However, how are we going to pay for it? And how are we going to move individuals when there's no room in the inn? So it's like, what keeps you up at night? It's unfortunate. I do have Councillor Neal yet. Councillor Neal, I apologize for the rant.
Oh, that's okay. I'm used to it.
I knew you were
No,
there.
I just wanted to bring up. I just wanted to bring up the fact that Oshawa, the community, in regards to, it's not just Clarington. Oshawa has a very giving community, because I know the churches and religious organizations are all contributing to hunger. In fact, the one church that I'm familiar with, Columbus United Church, which is in my ward, I'm familiar with all the religious institutions. They even collect furniture and distribute that along with food, and they take food from businesses like Cobb's that will give them bread and everything like that. I've seen the church basements and the amount of food that is distributed, but as well as furniture and beds, etc. And then last night I was at a meeting with the OCCNA, which is an Oshawa community park based, and they're donating sports equipment to the far north, used sports equipment. And it's some of the sports equipment is almost new, but it's the type of stuff that the city of Oshawa does and always has in regards to other communities. So that's just a comment, but I thank you very much for what the region of Durham is doing to try and help the homeless and the people most in need, the vulnerable people. Thank you. That's my rant.
Thanks, Councillor Neal. I have no more speakers or questions, but I do have questions. And it relates to the conduct policies. And I know that Mayor Carter had asked about it as well too, and as we're moving forward, the struggles to within our warming center. So with the conduct policies and that agreement, will it be consistent across all providers with the same conduct policy?
Through the chair, absolutely.
Because I'm going to say the one thing that we all know rules and boundaries. We were brought up with rules and boundaries. And I think it's a great opportunity of that consistency across all warming centers.
Through the chair, I just wanted to add, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to move forward with this approach, is because when the peer support was happening, as well as our weekly meeting, that was quickly identified that although this may work in one space, our participants might be accessing multiple space. So ensuring that the space that they go to, it's consistent across the region. And that was why we wanted to move forward to implement that.
I appreciate that. And for clarity for myself, this will be for the time that they're within the shelter, or will it be within the times, for instance, shelter closes in the morning and they remain on the property? Would there be an expectation of the occupant now, who is not under the provision of the shelter provider, the warming center provider, but now it's become of the private property?
It's during operations of winter warming.
Okay, because that's, I think, that's the gap, big part of the gap. And that within that gap, what we're also seeing is like even when the closure of the warming centers took place, and we saw the encampments come like more within our communities, it's that struggle as to where that housing is, or that ability is to place a person. And I know ourselves within Whitby, we had seen that as well too. And there was a success story, because we have seen some of the occupants from after the warming center closed to be, that housing was put into place for some of it. But there is that gap, and the gap is also that 24-hour component. We know that because we've also seen already with this shelter system that 24-hour supports does need to be there, but we need another building. We need another 1635. We need something to accommodate for 788 individuals who did access to our warming centers. But it is, when we were in Germany for the economic development, and I shared this with the CAO, that the individuals that are now on our streets, there's a change. There's a change happening, and there's a change of who is on our streets as well too. But there's also, even like this past Sunday, it was a local neighbor who was kicked out of the house, and now is like residing within the community as well too. And I think that as we're starting to see that transition and change, and as the chair mentioned it, it's that communication network which is very strong amongst our homeless community as to where they can, like, here's a great spot for an encampment, or here, it's that strength that I've really witnessed, especially in this past year, from a lot of our residents that are living on our streets as well too.
And just through the chair, just to highlight is, you're right, when you look at that 878, we only have 187 shelter beds in our region. Right? So if we look at that stat on its own, it's right. So I think that absolutely looking at more spaces to bring individuals indoor, even if it's temporary, until we're able to get them to a place where they're able to sustain housing permanently, is really what we need to be pushing for.
Yeah, and the other side of it, and I know for some of us, we've had this interaction, and that is about looking at our security as well too. I appreciate that we are doing that review, because 99.9% are not causing the issues. It's that 0.1 that causes the issues that make it for a bad relationship with the community as well too. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And next on our agenda is delegation. And Finley, thank you for your patience. Finley McEwen, Youth Engagement Strategy. Finley.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I didn't prepare a PowerPoint, but I do have a proposal here because I wasn't able to finish it until later on. But I can send that to whoever.
You can send it to the clerk. We'll get you connected with the clerk, and they'll be distributed to all of us.
Okay, awesome. So, my name is Finley McEwen, And this is the first City Hall Council I've ever attended, and it's the first time I've ever taken a step towards the change I'd like to see. So hopefully this leads to one little step in that direction. So the reason why I'm here is to propose the implementation of an in-person mindfulness program, specifically with the youth health group. Now I saw online that Durham Region offers a few different online options like apps or online sessions that you can book. But something I've learned myself over teaching mindfulness over the past 2 years is that nothing works better than an in-person session. And so, also, as someone who's grown up in the West, I understand that emotional intelligence is not something that we're really taught. But if we're taught it, we can change the next generations. And that's something I've learned myself. And so if we can learn to implement mindfulness into the current mental health programs, then I am very confident that there'll be a big dramatic change in the future with mental well-being, inner well-being, and these kind of things. And so what I'm proposing is a 3-week pilot program in the youth health group for 3 weeks, 1 session a week for 30 minutes of a mindfulness exercise to help people have the inner tools they need to just be well, to just live well. Because I think a lot of the problems that we're facing, I know a lot of them are more important in terms of homelessness, housing, and a lot more. But I think so much of this can be minimized in the next generations if we begin implementing mindfulness today. I really do believe that. And so that's why I'm suggesting a 3-week pilot program to have that happen. And so it's very brief. That's all I really had to say. I do hope this leads to at least a step in the right direction, whether that's volunteering or anything like that. But really, implementing mindfulness into Durham Region can really help set the foundations for a more stable future for everyone, I believe. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions? Not hearing any and not seeing any online. Mr. McEwen, please, we'll get you coordinated with our clerk and get the submission brought in, and we'll also share that with the staff that did presentation today as well too. And thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And we have no further reports or correspondence. Mayor Carter, under new unfinished business, I'm sure.
Yes.
Question?
I just have a question. Yeah. First of all, just leaning on your last inquiry about shelters, I'm wondering if we can get an update in regards to the work that's been done in regards to the modernization of shelters.
Do you want that in a memo or at this point in time?
No, if the commissioner can answer it, I'd appreciate it, or staff could answer it, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioner will answer.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, we are doing work on that, Mayor Carter. I believe there have been discussions with one of the local shelters recently, and they are sort of dusting off, I think, some plans that they had in the past that were not approved, I think, at some point. And we're looking to work with them and support them to work with the local area municipality to see what we could be doing. And of course, any new shelters that will be created, will follow the new standards that we have, particularly 1635, I would say, is our best practice.
Okay. Can we get, Madam Commissioner, if there's a opportunity, could we get an update once that discussion has happened with the modernization, please? Just, I think myself and Councillor Chapman have been waiting quite some time about where we are with that. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us, I greatly appreciate it.
We will
And
reach
that-
out to you directly, yes.
Beautiful, thank you. And the second question really falls on your response, and part of the conversation says, and part of a lot of the dialogue, which is about shelters. I know our philosophy has always been about housing people, but it sure sounds like we need shelters to be built and operated with proper resources and across the region of Durham. So is there a shelter framework that's being put in place, and is there plans of the region opening up more shelters across the region?
We continue to look at our options, Mayor Carter. We need shelter space, and Lisa and her team are looking at locations where obviously there are major gaps, which local area municipalities are in greater need, and are looking for land and are looking for opportunities. We're even looking at existing buildings that could be for sale, that could work for us. Most so far have not worked for us, but we still continue to do that.
Okay, that's great news. Thank you very much for that. And I'm hoping that as you go through that process, of course, much of what we talked about best practices and those kind of elements, showers, laundry facilities, all that rest of it would be taken into consideration. I'm a great believer, and I know your focus has been housing, and I applaud you for that. You're trying to get people into housing. You don't want them in shelters. You'd rather them in housing, but it sure seems like we're going to have to do both, and we're going to have to do both really well. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Commissioner, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask.
And maybe I'll just quickly add, and just so you know, Mayor Card, I know you appreciate this, there are very limited resources. So that's why we've been balancing housing as a priority, and now we do have to look at finding investments for the new shelters. Thank you.
Yeah, I like your philosophy behind looking at existing buildings, because I think that may be more affordable and it may help in regards to the urgency of the moment. So I give you credit on that one. So thank you, Madam Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. Is there any further questions under other business? Seeing none, our next meeting's June 5th at 9:30, and a motion to adjourn. Councillor Dyes, Councillor Jubb, all in favor. Thank you very much.